Greetings, everybody. My name's Dave DeWalt. I'm the founder and CEO of NightDragon. We're coming to you live from Black Hat here in Las Vegas, which is really exciting because we only get a couple of really big cybersecurity events a year. And here we are in the desert in Las Vegas at one of the biggest events, and super excited to talk to you about kind of the halftime show, so to speak, for 2023. If you remember, we did a State of Cyber event right after New Year's, and we really had a 360-degree view of the cybersecurity market. And we interviewed people from government, system integrators, VARs and disties, and different CISOs and things to help everybody see the state of cyber. Here we are 6-7 months later, and a lot has changed. This word AI came up once or twice in our State of Cyber last time, and now I think it comes up every sentence we talk about here at Black Hat. So joining me today is a good friend and an amazing person, Chris Sestito, goes by Tito, and he is the founder and CEO of an extraordinarily interesting company called HiddenLayer that focuses in on AI security. Chris, welcome. Tito, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
And I just want to say it's an honor to have known you, and congratulations on your long career. Tell everybody for a second your background, just so you know, from all your cyber world.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dave, thank you so much for being here, NightDragon team. Thank you so much. I'm Chris Sestito. I came up as a reverse engineer. I used to do a lot of analysis in the early 2000s on threats that were fired through state actors, distributed through advertising campaigns. Then that brought me to a company called Cylance, where I was the head of research and intelligence for a while, where we were looking at using machine learning models to predict new threats that we had never seen before, and spent some time doing that. And that's when I started learning more and more about the abusability and the vulnerabilities associated with artificial intelligence, which in between the two, I ran data science at a company called Agari, where we built models to identify phishing campaigns. And then I was the chief data scientist at Qualys, where we were identifying vulnerabilities. And now with HiddenLayer, we're securing the technology that allowed us to do all of those things.
It's amazing to watch your career and your background with some of the most advanced companies. Seriously, I always was a big fan of Cylance, in particular what they did with AI to really prevent attacks from occurring, which was one of the first of its kind. I know you had a lot to do with that. Take a big picture for a minute for the audience. And in the last 6-8 months, we've had a lot change. And the usage of AI, the threats in AI, sort of just encapsulate it for everybody just for a minute. Like, what do you think the state of adoption is and the state of things that you're seeing, a little bit on the threats? Give a little color, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of production systems, it's the fastest growing technology we've ever seen, and it's being adopted and deployed at an unprecedented rate. And that's, like all technologies, that creates enormous risk on the security side. But in this case in particular, it's even more of a risk. It's additive in that case, as artificial intelligence as a technology has not gone under much security scrutiny at all. And so it's creating a scenario where we are very, very quickly deploying this amazing technology that's giving us new results that we would never have dreamed before in the past. But we're really opening up a lot and expanding the threat surface quite a bit. So I think there's sort of the natural level of new technology means new infrastructure required to support that. But then there's a lot of new territory in terms of this technology, and a lot of threat actors out there that want to understand how to exploit it and actively are exploiting it.
As you think about, one thing with NightDragon we look at is this gap between the offense and the defense. And it's kind of like mind the gap, right? You look for the biggest threats and risks that are happening and what can the bad guys do versus what the defense can provide. AI seems to be one of those areas where the gap has gotten big. Can you talk about some of the threats that are out there? We hear about prompt attacks and jailbreaking and data poisoning and the variety of things. Spend a minute just talk about some of the attack vectors.
Absolutely, and I think it's an interesting correlation because really it mirrors every type of threat that you could see on an endpoint. And so artificial intelligence is incredibly vulnerable at a code level. We're seeing malware injected into models. We're seeing ransomware hidden inside the weights of models where you wouldn't expect to see even executable code. And so there's a at an artifact level, it's incredibly vulnerable. And then, as you mentioned, we're seeing what we call inference time attacks or real-time attacks with a model that's been deployed into a product or hardware or software or data pipeline, which is where we're seeing models be stolen. We're seeing data that was used to train models be inferred in the real time. We're seeing poisoning, where we're looking at like cyclical learning environments where models get redeployed, which is a permanent problem. If you've been able to poison a model that's then used to train future iterations, that's never going away. We're seeing model theft in exposed cases, and then some really high value models that are responsible for some incredibly critical decision making in just large investments in healthcare and surgeries, and so they're incredibly exposed there. But we're seeing attacks across the board. We're seeing them at the code level with malware, and we're seeing them in real time. Whether it comes to like understanding and reversing fraud models, targeted advertising models. We're seeing, there's model use cases, AI at the edge in 16 different industry verticals today, and they're all exposed and they're all actively being explored by threat actors.
If you're a CISO and you're giving recommendations to CISOs right now, the early stage of this was just block all the websites that you could download some sort of capability of model or the like to help you with your production of your LM. That's not sustainable, right? And so what advice are you giving the chief security officers right now as they really begin to look at deploying this capability?
Yeah, it's important, because if you overcorrect, you're going to start interrupting your ability to keep up with competitors. You're going to start slowing down rates of adoption. So for me, it's simple. I talk to CISOs and say, we're not asking you to make any new decisions. We're asking you to apply prior decisions to a new technology. And so we're saying, as you grow, your technology applications and your organization, you've already decided that you need to secure assets before you bring them into your organization. You've already decided that those who are able to interact with company assets need to be monitored, and you need to be able to detect attacks there, and you need to be able to respond to them. We're just saying that with this new technology, we need to mirror those decisions. And so that helps clear it up, and that helps really make understand the target here and understand the expanse of the threat landscape, because none of it's really that new.
Last question for you with our timing, HiddenLayer. So what does it mean and what does it do?
Yeah, HiddenLayer. So the name HiddenLayer is something I came up with because actually in a neural network you have your input layers and you have your output layer, and then all of your internal layers are referred to as a hidden layer. So it's something that data scientists understand, and then we become a hidden layer in your security stack. And so it's something that helps us kind of bridge the gap with cybersecurity and data science alike, because that's exactly what we do. We are a dedicated cybersecurity organization to protecting artificial intelligence systems. And so everything I just mentioned, we protect them at the code level with scanning. We protect them at a real-time deployment by understanding who's interacting with your models and whether they're using them as you intended it to be used, or whether they're stealing the model, abusing it, poisoning it, all of these things. So we mirror all of the technology that you would see in endpoint security for machine learning assets.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Sestito, Tito, as he goes by, founder and CEO of HiddenLayer, one of the hottest companies in AI security and one of the best experts in this market. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank
Love
you
you.
so much.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck.